In our first section, we are going to be talking about rating fired coaches' tenure. We're going to start off with Mike Zimmer.
How long was he in Minnesota?
Too long, for sure. I mean, 10 years, I think.
Yeah, it's probably right around there.
Yeah, I think he started in 2012.
Which is funny because the reason I'm asking is because I think he's, at least I used to think he was good,
Yeah.
Probably 3 or 4 years ago,
I was going to say, I wonder, because I thought the same thing, that he was a pretty good coach. I wonder if the regime before him, if it was assistants that he had, or if it was the regime before him set him up for success, or what happened, or if Kirk Cousins just ruined him, I don't necessarily know. Maybe because he's a defensive guy,
Yeah.
right? Maybe the Vikings went too offensive, and he kind of lost it in touch with how he lost the team, in a sense,
I think that it's probably a combination of him being, like you said, a defensive guy in an offensive league that just keeps getting more offensive. And so his defense is...
Well, I was talking about the team. They were getting more offensive.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just saying in general, the league gets more offensive driven. So naturally, they get more and more playmakers and
Yeah.
stuff. And so as a result, the defenses, they've been dropping off.
You know what's kind of funny if you think about it? The better his offense got, the worse of a coach he became.
That's what I'm saying.
You got Kirk Cousins.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because they stopped drafting cornerbacks in the first round every year and started drafting wide receivers and stuff like that.
Yeah, or running backs, or paying
Linemen.
quarterbacks a bunch of money.
So I wonder. I feel like that was probably the times kind of just turning for the worse in Mike Zimmer's favor.
Yeah. To wrap it up, I would rate it a B+. Only because the Minneapolis Miracle. No one will ever forget that, right?
Yeah.
And he was there for that.
They have had a few good playoff wins. They made the
Yeah.
NFC Championship the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but they couldn't beat the Eagles.
Right. So
Neither could the Patriots.
I'll say a B is solid,
Yeah.
because like I said, for a while there it was Mike Zimmer, he's pretty good,
Yeah.
A lot of teams would probably be happy to try to get him. But now it's he's probably, from here he's probably a defensive coordinator.
I was going to say he had a good tenure, but he did get fired in the end.
Yeah.
Right? So I said B+, and I'm going to stick to that. I think out of all the coaches we're going to go over, he by far has had the best success, right? Even though he is one of the least likely guys to become a head coach again. Like he said, I think he's going to become a defensive coordinator and live a happy life.
Yeah,
He's also had a lot of surgeries as a coach.
Yeah.
He has more surgeries than Kirk Cousins had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's fair.
Eye stuff and stuff. All right, let's move on to the next guy. The guy that shocked the nation when he got fired, Brian Flores.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
It was one of those things because it was what do they call it? Black Monday or whatever.
Yeah.
Where
I don't like that term.
Well, that's neither here nor there. But
Yeah, okay.
I woke up and I saw all the coaches' notifications on my phone, right? And it's who was it? Vic Fangio,
Yeah.
Mike Zimmer.
People we expected.
And he was the third one out of the 4 that got fired that day. And
Yeah.
I was reading all of them and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be there.
Yeah. And
Where your clothes at?
And it was just yeah, I was really surprised, I gotta say.
Yeah. He definitely didn't deserve it out of all these guys. But I'm not that shocked. In looking back on it, because it's the Dolphins and they're not a good organization.
Yeah.
He did
he didn't draft Tua over Herbert.
Yeah, he didn't want Tua. He wanted Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, exactly. And supposedly that's why he got canned, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, if that's what you really want to do, you just really want that coach and quarterback relationship to be good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he was there for 3 seasons, and over those 3 seasons, I'll give him his tenure, his success, probably a B minus. But him as a coach is an A- because their first year was awful, and then they came in and brought all these guys in.
Well, their first year was the tank for 2 a year where they started 0-8 or something.
Yeah.
But then they actually finished 5-11.
Yeah.
And then the next 2 years, like they were 10-6 last year, I'm pretty sure. And
yeah, that was a good year with the defense.
And they missed the playoffs by like a game, and then this year
Kinda
they
like
were like I think a game or two under 500. Yeah,
I thought they came up. Oh, they were 8-8. Did they win their last
like
game?
0-7. No, they started like 1-7, and then won like 8 in a row.
Yeah. So I think they
lost like a couple. I don't know.
I think they finished 9-8. I think they finished with a winning record.
I thought it was 8-9, but
it might be 8-9. It's right there. It's near there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think he had good success, and he's going to become a head coach somewhere else.
Yeah.
Out of these coaches, he's probably the most attractive one as a coaching candidacy, and his physical looks.
Oh, okay.
Am I wrong? I mean, he's competing against Joe Judge.
Okay, well.
Spoiler alert, we're getting to him.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think I would give it. Honestly, I'll give it a B. Don't, like you said, like I feel like he did the absolute best he could with that situation.
Yeah.
Even though I do want to say that, like, I think that Brian Flores is a good coach and should be a head coach, and probably will be.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later, but I think people were going a little bit over the top. Like they were acting like Bill Belichick got fired, for a little bit there. I agree. Which, like I said, I understand that like the players like him and he was doing a good job and like he had no reason to be fired.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was a little bit overdone.
I agree. I agree. Let's move on to the next guy. Old New York guy, Joe Judge. He got fired for not being able to learn Microsoft Excel and for his team being a clown show, literally. Mr. QB sneak on 3rd and 9 and 2nd and 9, blah, blah, blah. We all know. Joe Judge, I think I'm just going to rate him real quick. If it was a scale from 1 to 10, he'd be a...
1?
Nah, he'd be a crap stain in my underwear, my granny's underwear. Like, that's that bad. Like,
you just said it's on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's how bad it was. Probably the worst coach that's been around for a while. But honestly, over the past few coaches the Giants have, he's probably not even the worst one because Ben McAdoo.
I was going to say, I don't know. He might be worse than Ben McAdoo.
But let alone,
I think he is.
It was a bad few seasons for him.
I mean, I'll off the top of my head, let's just give him a F.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody doubted this was going to happen because he was a special teams coordinator for the Patriots. Which, okay, sure, that's cool or whatever, Patriot way, but let's just be honest. They had Patrick Graham as the defensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Joe Judge did much with that defense. I think it was mostly Patrick Graham.
No, yeah.
And the best option for the Giants to go is hire Patrick Graham as their head coach.
Well, it's one of those things where last year they were, like, in competition.
Yeah.
But they didn't win the NFC East in a year where the Washington football team made it at 7-9.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next year going in, they have like some real hype. Like people were definitely picking them to finish above like the football team and the Eagles.
Yeah.
But they got last, and they're one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
Now I will say Daniel Jones got hurt, but you don't like. I think it's less about their record and just the way everything is gone. Like the calling out of other head coaches and like the insults to the media and like,
yeah,
he was trying to hype himself up all year this year.
Yeah.
And you can't just do that and go out and run QB sneak on a 2nd down.
Yeah. The thing for me is that yes, there were injuries and things that didn't go right with Saquon and Daniel Jones, but it's the way you respond and the way you coach your team and how you react to those situations. And to him, there was no reaction. There was nothing. They just went to Mike Glennon and said, "This is your show."
Yeah.
Let's
not act like Mike Glennon. He's not good, obviously. But is he the worst quarterback who suited up and started this year? No, I don't think so.
But even if he was, you should have made a switch faster to Jake Fromm or anybody.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like
there was no response time to any of it.
Yeah.
And that, yes, there were bad things that happened to him, but it's not like he responded in the right way.
Yeah. Poor Daniel Jones.
So
he had that one hit where he was like stumbling, and they played him the next week.
Yeah,
and then he got out for the season like 2 weeks later.
Yeah. I mean, and if you don't think Daniel Jones is good enough, which I think most people think at this point, go draft a quarterback or go get somebody through free agency or change something, do something instead of just letting your offense be stagnant and signing Kenny Golladay and getting him 0 touchdowns for the year.
Yeah, it's not like his. I mean, this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's not like they haven't had the players. There's no reason they should have been this bad his entire tenure.
Yeah, I agree. So out of a scale to 1 to 10, I give it a F minus. Next, Matt Nagy. On a scale to A to F, I'm gonna give him a 4. Matt Nagy, honestly, through his tenure, wasn't awful, right? Yeah. Because he made the playoffs, and I'll give him respect. But he should have been fired 2 years ago, and I think everyone knows that.
Honestly, I don't really have much backing for this, so bear with me here.
Yeah.
But, I understand that Matt Nagy is a capable play caller.
Yeah.
Well, he had. See, I'm trying to not just poop on him.
No, you entirely. You should. He's been bad.
Well, I think his whole thing was he got his start as a play caller and a innovative offensive mind.
Yeah.
And then after 1 year, everybody was like, "No, this is not you're not gonna get us again. This is what you're doing. We're gonna stop it right now."
Yeah.
And he was kind of like Joe Judge, where he was like, "I know what I'm doing. Stop questioning me.
Yeah.
Media, stop blah blah blah." And then he giving up his play calling duties every a couple times every year, and he's just trying to turn into the CEO type. And I just didn't like his attitude. I got to be honest. I'm not a Bears fan, but he just kind of made me sick of him by the time it was time for him to go.
Yeah.
It's similar to how I felt about Adam Gase. It just felt like he was kind of mailing it in.
Adam Gase or Joe Judge?
Both, really.
Yeah.
No, I don't think Joe Judge was mailing it in. I just don't think he's good.
Oh, okay.
Whereas with Adam Gase and Matt Nagy, I just felt like they were just sitting in their office waiting for their day, instead of going passionately in one direction, they just sat there and waited for their time to come,
Yeah, I agree with that. One last thing about Matt Nagy is that he was an offensive guy that didn't have a single good offensive season, and the only thing that kept them in the playoffs or ever good
was Khalil Mack
and their defense. Yeah, I mean overall their defense has been good. I mean with Raquan Smith and all that, but not their offense at all.
Mm-hmm.
Next guy, another defensive mind, Vic Fangio, whatever. What?
Exactly.
The thing about him is that I think people forget that he was a coach there, and I think when they thought about him, they kind of felt bad because he's fat and old, right? So they're and he just looks like a sad guy, right? He's probably a grandpa, and I'm not gonna dog him too much. I'm not gonna go on a tangent like with Adam Gase and Matt Nagy. People just didn't like them because they're kind of stuck up with it.
Yeah,
Vic, he was just there,
and
he didn't do much. Did he make the playoffs?
No.
I didn't think so.
I think that Vic he's the fall guy for this, and I'm not saying. Well, what else? I think that he was set up to fail.
I agree.
He's a defensive head coach in an offensive time.
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't give him good offensive personnel at all. The best quarterback he's had since being the head coach is Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And that's just that's not going to work,
Yeah.
So I think he ends up getting the fall, even though his defenses stayed motivated and pretty good throughout his tenure. I just don't think he was ever the right pick to be a head coach,
I agree. I think he's going to go and become a defensive coordinator.
He's going to be one of the best DCs in the league.
That's what I was going to say. I think he's going to be happy. Where as the head coach, I just don't think he was happy there.
He was the defensive coordinator for
the
Matt
Bears,
Nagy.
And they're very good.
They
made the playoffs.
Right, their best year.
Yeah, so I think he's going to become a defensive coordinator and be happy. And whoever gets him is going to be ecstatic because they're going to have him for the next 10 years until he retires.
Yeah, he's not. See, I don't think that he's. I feel like most players would want to play for him compared to a Matt Nagy or a Joe Judge.
I totally agree. Totally agree. So. Next guy, probably the most entertaining coach this year, Urban Meyer. Get a little action in Ohio, right, with a Hooters girl, whatever. I don't know. I stopped paying attention to him a long time ago. Got fired a while ago, but I just brought him up because he's just funny to think about. Ruined Trevor Lawrence's rookie season and the whole entire Jags season with A, not being able to coach, and B, his antics and shenanigans.
I think that all needs to be said, you can kind of sum his whole thing up in that one clip where he's walking and the guy, Vrabel, comes up to shake his hand and he just doesn't break stride, doesn't look at Vrabel at all and shakes his hand and keeps walking.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
For Vrabel.
Where he just looks completely dead inside.
Well, and there's some connection between Vrabel and Urban Meyer. I don't remember what it is, but there's they knew each other, like they worked together. Vrabel, I don't know, played for him or something. Whereas, like, even worse. Yeah, I mean, I would consider him not even that bad of a coach. No, I mean, yes, he's a bad coach. I'm just going with, I'd label this as just him, messing around, doing all shenanigans.
Yeah, well, I don't. This is similar to the last one where I just think he was not gonna. Like, I just think this was a bad hire.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody saw except for Colin Cowherd. Nobody saw this hire and was like, "Oh, that's gonna work out."
Yeah,
totally nobody believed him when he said he's here for the long haul to rebuild the Jaguars.
No.
Yeah.
All right, next guy. Those were all the coaches that got fired. But I'm gonna bring up one guy that looking like he's probably gonna get fired, but we'll see. Pete Carroll. Just throwing this out. I know there's a lot of speculation between if Russ is leaving and Pete Carroll's going to leave. Good chance they both might leave, Like, no one really knows what's happening in Seattle. If he leaves, there's a good chance he retires because I think he's the second oldest coach.
I was going to say, I think it's probably pretty likely they ask him to retire.
Yeah, because I don't see him rebuilding anywhere, and I don't know if anybody's going to hire him to reload a team.
Yeah.
And go, for a playoff push. Maybe go to college somewhere and kind of become a Mac Brown and just kind of, be old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, sure. Why not? Oh, we didn't rate Vic Fangio's.
Or, who's the last guy?
Urban Meyer's. That's a 0. Vic Fangio, that's a 4.
I'll give Urban an F+.
F+?
Better than Joe Judge.
Okay, that's fair.
And I'll give Vic a C-.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. Let's move on to our next segment. Our next segment is rating.
One more thing. I do think that if you want to keep Russ, Pete's got to go.
I agree. And if you want to keep Pete, Russ got to go. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
sure. Fair.
Yeah.